And I would include as mysteries in our lives, life itself, suffering, freedom, finiteness, death. These things are with us from birth till death, and we don't control them or change them as we see them in a new light because a different kind of person has died. We don't get to change those things. We change in the aftermath of those things, in response to those things, as opposed to by controlling them. And if we understood more things and challenges in life as mysteries that we learn to live with, not problems that we solve and control, we'd have a more balanced idea of what our limitations are and what the possibilities are in living a good life.
Welcome to OTR, Achieving Mental Health for Real. This is where we talk honestly about what people actually live with: anxiety, depression, ADHD, dyslexia, OCD, trauma, and more. No stigma, no sugarcoating, just real conversations about how you think, how you feel, and how you move through the world. If you're looking for clarity, validation, and a place where your story makes sense, you're in the right space. Let's get into it.
Today on OTR, we sit down with Dr. Thomas Attig, one of the most influential voices in contemporary grief theory and applied philosophy, a teacher, a global speaker, and the author of Seeking Wisdom in Death's Shadows, collected writings on how we grieve, published by Oxford University Press. His earlier works include The Heart of Grief, Death and the Search for Lasting Love, and How We Grieve, Relearning the World, also published by Oxford University Press. Attig's work centers on the idea that grieving is an active, choice-filled process, a relearning of how to be in the world after loss. For more than 3 decades, he's taught us that grief isn't about letting go, it's about learning to love in separation, relearning how to live in a world forever changed. And today, he joins us for a conversation about resilience, remembrance, and the choices we make in the aftermath of loss. This is Thomas Attig, and this is OTR.
Now, here's Bob with today's show.
Hello, welcome to OTR. We have Thomas Attig with us. Thomas, hi. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Well, it depends on what counts as a little bit, but it pertains to death and dying, so I'll go right at it. I was born into 2 large families. My father was one of 10 who lived, and my mother was one of 9. And all of those folks married except one on each side of the family. So I had over 30 aunts and uncles and about the same number of cousins when I was growing up. And my mother's family lived in the Chicago area. I saw them a lot. My father's family was scattered all over the Midwest, even out to the West Coast. And at the time, people didn't drive very far to go to funerals and the like. So when someone died in my father's family, and he was almost 20 years older than my mother, they started dying earlier, we received letters. And my mother would simply open the letter and read it to the entire family. My brother and my parents and I all heard the letters. So I got used to people dying, starting when I was 5 or 6 and on through high school. And that turned out to be an exceptional experience compared to a lot of my fellow young folks at the time. I fell in love with the idea of teaching. My favorite people were my teachers. And my math teacher in high school was superb, and I thought I would become a mathematician. I had perfect scores on SATs and things like that. And I went off to college thinking I would become a math teacher. My older brother, 9 years older, had become a teacher. I liked teaching because he was in it also. In my first term at the university, I discovered that I didn't want to teach math, though I was really good at it. I watched 7 math teachers not teach well at all, and I finally asked myself a simple question. Do you really want to teach students advanced math who don't want to learn it in a high school setting, and there's no discussion in class. That's not the kind of teaching I want to do, come to think of it. So I thought humanities. I wound up majoring in philosophy. I was interested in phenomenology, which is a set of techniques and practices in describing and interpreting human experiences, and existentialism, which is a concerted effort to find some wisdom on how to live a finite life with meaning and integrity. But I still didn't think I was going to be teaching about death and dying. Anyway, I got my degree and went to teach at Bowling Green State University in Ohio. And after a few years there, they were starting to develop a new college on health and human services. So it was nursing, gerontology, social work, child and family development, and the like. And I thought some of my colleagues were developing philosophy courses in medical ethics and philosophy of law and the like. And they were attracting students from that college. And I thought a course on death and dying could work, given that when my students chose the topics for the class that I was teaching in ethics, they gravitated toward death and dying topics. So I proposed teaching a course on death and dying. They let me do it. I did it. The demand for it grew and grew. And that's when I became decidedly interested in death and dying. And on grief and loss in particular, I decided that my students would be afraid to go into the room where someone was dying or where there was a family where someone was dying, and wouldn't know what to say because they didn't have the experiences I had as I was growing up. And I thought it would be best to have my students think about their own experiences and learn from them. So I asked them to write 3 little essays on the 3 most important loss experiences in their lives. And they wrote hundreds of them in the first couple of years I had people doing that course. And none of them mentioned 5 stages of dying or 5 stages of grieving, either one. What they talked about was how their world was incredibly different given that this person had died, and they didn't know how to go on. I give you examples and so on, but I think I probably said enough.
Yeah, that's great. No,
that's perfect. How I got to death and dying.
That was perfect. It gave us a good background. I was looking at your philosophy and everything, and just getting right into it. Personally, I have trouble. I have a lot of mental issues to begin with. I have trouble with death in general. I don't have any beliefs. I don't believe in afterlife. I don't think there's anything. So I have a lot of trouble dealing with that subject, especially at this age. And I recently had a friend die, a real good friend, from back in the day. And, it's just mind blowing in my head that, he's gone. So, I know they always say there's like 5 stages of grief and all of that, but, I think you're pretty much saying that is not true, that there really isn't stages. Could you go into what you mean by that?
I surely can. First, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, a very famous psychologist, in 1969 wrote a book on death and dying. In it, she reported on what she learned from interacting with dying persons in the hospital where she worked. And she observed that they went through 5 stages. And the way I hear the 5 stages, they're like ego defenses. Our ego is the part of us that wants to solve problems, take control of things, change things. And we have what we call ego defenses, or what psychologists call ego defenses. And they are fighting something we want to control, or flying from it if it seems like it's too much for us to deal with. So when you look at the 5 stages of Kubler-Ross on dying, there is this thing that is happening, and the doctors are telling you it looks as if you are very seriously ill and you could die. And the first thing that comes in her 5 stages is denial. No, I think those doctors have it wrong. That's just not wrong. It's not happening to me. I'm not going to die. I'm not dealing with dying, and so on. Mm-hmm. And then they get worse, and their symptoms get more complicated, and they get weak. And it's, oh, geez, I don't know. This really ticks me off. Mm-hmm. And the second stage is anger, and egos try to control things with their anger. If you know a fairly large number of people, you know lots of people who try to control things with their anger. That doesn't work either if someone's really dying. They get to a third stage that she called bargaining. Maybe I've got the wrong doctor. If I get another doctor and he tells me something else and I'm not dying, I'm out from under this. Well, it turns out that doesn't work. When all 3 of those ego defenses attempts to control things that ultimately can't be controlled, when they all fail, then people go into what she calls the 4th stage, depression. Oh, crap. My usual way of doing things just doesn't work here. And eventually, she says, people come to what she calls acceptance. This is the reality in my life. This is really happening to me. 5th stage. Mm-hmm. Now, that works fairly well where there's some ambiguity about whether the doctors have it right. It doesn't work as a description of 5 stages of grieving. What you have in that situation is an unambiguous situation where someone actually has died, and you can see and touch and be in a room with and pray together with the person who has died. There's no room for your anger controlling the situation or making it not the case that someone's died. Mm-hmm. You can't bargain with the non-negotiable fact of what's happened. You're likely depressed from the beginning when you see that this person has died. Mm-hmm. The 5 stages just don't work there. Mm-hmm. What I found from my students when they talked about their loss experiences, they talked about how their world had changed in a major way. Right. Their present life cannot be what it was because a major player isn't there anymore. You can't talk to him, you can't see him, you can't hug him, you can't kiss him, you can't curse at him, you can't wrestle with him in the living room floor, you can't make love to him. They're just... my students came up with stories that were individual. No 2 were the same. Right. Some would talk about what are we going to do with all the stuff that's left behind? Some would talk about Dad died, where's the money going to come from? How are we going to live on Mom's salary, or maybe she doesn't have a salary at all? Right. Someone would say, I don't know how to talk to my grandmother. My father just died, and that's her son. I'm used to talking to Grandma when she's not a grieving grandmother or grieving mother. I don't know how to talk with her. People talk about losing their friends. They talk about leaving their church. They talk about social challenges, people who they would count on for help not coming through and helping them, strangers being more friendly than their best friends. The whole world is in a kind of upheaval. And my idea is that grieving is more like a process of relearning how to live in a world that's radically changed by the death of someone you love.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how. My problem is I always worry because I have 3 kids and 9 grandchildren.
There
And
you go.
if something happens to them, I don't think I could make it. I really don't. I I don't know, but it's a big factor in my life. And also I lost a relationship with my daughter. She started ghosting me 3 years ago. And to me, that's like a death. I've been grieving that. Almost every day I think about it and I grieve that. So, how?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how do I make it better? How do I make it better? Is it just never going to get better, really?
Has she turned her back on you entirely?
Not entirely. She called me when she had a child, like a year ago or 2 years ago. But now she doesn't call me on Father's Day, which like breaks my heart every Father's Day. And it's just a whole big story. But nobody's wrong, but it's wrong, and I think it's a big, an area of grieving that most people don't talk about. But I think you can grieve someone even when they're alive, and
oh yes, if a relationship breaks down or changes in a radical way, it's very similar and can be as painful and heartbreaking. I think some of the most difficult life challenges and so on are in maintaining good relationships with people you want to have them with. And it's not entirely your responsibility, nor is it hers. It's the two of you. And when someone has decided to pretty much leave you out of their life, it's very hard.
I don't know how to deal with it. But before I forget this question, I wanted to ask you this question before I forget it, because I will. I have ADHD up. This new thing about celebration of life, do you agree with it? Because I have a problem with it. I think you should go in there and I think you should be like the old Romanian women that hugged the casket and cried like crazy. Do you think the celebration of life is a good idea or it doesn't matter?
I think it can be a very good thing. I think that a lot of people mistakenly believe that when someone dies, what you have to do is turn off the energy that has been devoted to them and send it off into a new direction. In other words, look for closure, look for a complete ending of the relationship, and so on. And I think that's a bad way to go. There's a lot of thinking in the last 20 or 30 years, almost 40 years now, about the possibility and the reality of continuing to love after someone has died. And it sounds like it can't work, but I would, if I had all of your listeners in a room together, I would ask them if they brought all of their friends and relatives with them to wherever they are now listening to you. And no one would say that they did that. You didn't bring everyone you love and care about with you to the studio today or wherever it is you're calling me from.
Right.
Did you stop loving them when you left them behind? No. You think they stopped loving you when you left? No. Well, we can love in separation. How do we do it? One of the things we do is we tell stories about one another. And we praise one another. We express gratitude for one another.
Yes.
We appreciate how they've made us better people in various ways. And we can do that after they've died. And in a ceremony of celebration of life, that can be a main purpose of doing that, remembering all that they have meant to us and that they still mean to us, even though they're not physically present with us any more than you brought everybody with you today in order to interview me.
So you don't think you should get it out of your system and just cry, or it doesn't, either way you do it doesn't change the long-term grieving?
I think that the more you get in the habit of remembering what they have meant to you and can still mean to you, and the more you just start telling stories about what you really loved about them or how nicely they treated you or what they taught you and so on, the less likely is that you're going to continue crying your eyes out. You'll always miss them. But I think at the beginning, when it's news that they have died or they've just gone through a pretty nasty illness, it hurts.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be overwhelmingly painful as it is for some who, I think some people think that if you are profoundly sad and you remain profoundly sad, that's a way of showing that you love them. And I think that's a bad way to show that you love them. I think better ways are doing what they would hope you would do in the aftermath of their dying. They would hope that you return to living reasonably well and remembering them when it's appropriate to remember them, but not making them the central focus of your life unless they were close to that. But suppose what you said you had 6 children, is that right?
I had 3 children and 9 grandchildren.
Oh, yeah, 9 grandchildren.
Yeah.
If you made one of them the entire focus of your life and ignored everybody else, that would be pretty distorting, right?
Yeah, that's what I think about too. I mean,
and why would you want to do that for one of them if they die?
Yeah.
I would think what you would want to do would be to take the 6 grandchildren. That 6th one who just died probably can be made as important as he or she always was in your life, like a 1/6 proportion among your grandchildren, not the only one. And some people seem to think that you've got to be so sad that you couldn't live without this person who died. And that's not the way it was when he or she was alive. Why should she or he become that important after you die? Work toward continuing to love him or her, being sad sometimes because you miss him, but also being the kind of person they would want you to be. They've come to love their grandfather as a kind of person who does X, Y, and Z. They would probably like you to return to doing X, Y, and Z and remembering them and remembering times when you did X, Y, and Z with them, and feel like you're encouraged to be the grandpa they always loved by them from the grave. That would be a much better place to be rather than all of a sudden you turn your back on everybody else in your life and just wallow in tears for the one who died.
Yeah, I hear you. It's tough, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. And I'm not saying you can just turn on a switch, but if you have a target in mind where, I'm going to think about this person who died and why I loved him so much. And if someone is like that, what would they like for me now that they're gone? They wouldn't like me to forget them, but they wouldn't like me to spend my time crying for them either. And I've got to work in that direction. I can't turn on the switch overnight, but I should work in that direction. So I should maybe start talking with other family members about what we remember about the person who died, why we love them, why we can still love them, how they can be an inspiration to us, how they can make us laugh, how they can make us cry when we tell stories about them, and so on, how we can continue to include them in our family life without making them the only act on the bill.
Now you wrote a book about this. What is your latest book?
The book is called Seeking Wisdom in Death's Shadows.
Okay. And the main theme of that book is what you were talking about?
Yeah, well, it's sort of, we're not going to do much in terms of helping us with grief and loss with scientific techniques. What we have to do is what philosophers have done since the beginning of time. We have to seek wisdom. We don't live more or less scientifically. We live more or less wisely. And philosophers have been working at that for millennia. And in my book, I run through all kinds of reflections about grieving wisely, facing our own mortality wisely, helping others who are facing death, dying, and bereavement wisely. And it gathers together my writings from about 4 decades. I've been at this for a long time. I think I'm probably a little older than you, but
not much,
not.
Really. I'm 68, so.
I'm 81.
Oh, congratulations. I don't know if I'll make it that far. But you sound good. I mean, my health is just not good. I mean, I have the mental issues plus my stenosis, but, I'm hanging in there. But, yeah, this is fascinating stuff. I think a lot of people have a problem with it. I know a lot of people have a problem with it, and I know I have a problem with it. I guess the question is, do you have a problem with it? I mean...
I've gotten to a point, and I think I've been there for quite some time, that I realize that human life is limited life. It always has been, and it always will be. I remember giving a talk long ago, and I convinced myself as I gave the talk, I said that there are 4 questions about the limitation of our life, and I'll just repeat them for you. Is it okay to be small and insignificant in the great scheme of things? I mean, we've got how many billion planets and stars and so on, and we're a tiny speck on a big speck on a bigger speck in a huge universe. We can't even figure out how big it is. Is it okay to be small that way? Is it okay to be impermanent, limited in time? Is it okay to have to deal with change constantly? Hardly anything ever stays the same. And is it okay to live with uncertainty, not knowing? And a lot of people don't live that way or in those ways. They find that to be unacceptable. One or all 4 of them. If they do, they are thinking that the kind of existence that they have is unacceptable to them. And I think that's a guarantee that you're going to wind up on a counselor's chair in his office.
Yeah, One of the things that we have on the show is we just have a philosophy of reality. We think that people hide behind some kind of comfort, whether it's religion, Disney World, buying things. There's always a comfort, and with that comfort comes a problem, either a mental problem or some other financial problem. And if you don't face reality to some extent, then you're always going to, I think, come up with, like you said, some kind of mental issue.
Yeah, it can't be good to live a life where you're constantly knocking your head against a wall of this is what it's really like, and trying to evade that.
Yeah.
Better to learn ways of, appreciating small things or appreciating impermanent things. We're pretty good at that mostly. If we had to eat all day long, it would be torture. But meals take 15 minutes to half an hour, and if the food's good, you're having a really good time. It's okay to have a small meal. It's okay to listen to a 4-minute record. It's okay to have a 5-minute dance with your favorite partner. It's okay to have a small ice cream cone and not the whole tub of ice cream. Just get used to and recognize how so many small things in your life are among the best things.
Of course.
And so many impermanent things are among the best things.
Yeah, that's music to my ears. Yeah, I preach that all the time, that the real secret to life is not money. It's not all this stuff you can gather up and hoard. The real secret to life is just relationships, family, loving, being loved. That's it. And so many people don't get it. So many people don't get it. They're like, well, I got to accumulate things. I have to accumulate. I have to be in a certain status group. That's all crap. And then they go into a tribe and defend everything in their tribe. You know, it's like, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat. It's all garbage, in my opinion. I don't believe in any of that. I believe that, you know, you should try to do something with people, with your, you know, everyone. Everyone should love everyone else, and that's it. You know, they say, well, the world is horrible. Well, why is the world horrible? It's horrible because we make it that way. I mean,
I think a lot of the world is hard because people are trying to get out of that framework that I was suggesting, that you really have to accept. If you accept it,
right.
Small is good, impermanent is good.
Yeah. And nobody, I don't think anybody really thinks they're going to die until they're around 50. I mean, I didn't think anything about dying that much unless I heard somebody died or something. I didn't think anything about it and then I hit 50, and that's like all I think about in a sense. You know, I think about it a lot because I don't have any comfort, but do I really want something that I can't possibly justify or believe in? But so many people, including my children, you know, they're convinced about whatever religion or whatever thing they think is correct. And they sit on that, and they block out everything else. But with the stuff they block out the good stuff. Like you were saying, they don't play anymore. Nobody plays. Everybody just sits there and figures out their financial situation, or used to read the newspaper. Now they read the tablet. They're on the computer all day. It's a soul damaging culture, and if it doesn't change, we're going to be in real big trouble. We're already in trouble, but wait till AI gets here. Wait, that'll be the trouble right there, because I'm an early user of AI, and one thing I know is that it tells you everything you do is great. Now, can you imagine people like really believe in that? You know, whatever spin that the guy comes up with or the AI comes up with, they're gonna say, "Oh yeah, I'm great," which is good in one way, but you know, all these egotistical people just get worse. So it's gonna be upheaval. I mean, not maybe negative, but it's gonna change everything. But yeah, it's all off the subject. But
there are major cultural changes in process, some of which are pretty horrifying to me.
Yeah.
I know that I'm getting toward the end of my life, I've got 3 children and 5 grandchildren, so that's close to where you are.
Yeah.
And I worry about the world that I'm leaving behind.
Yeah, so do I. This is why I'm on the air. I'm on the air for my
I felt
grandchildren.
like when I was growing up and having a family, I was in a world where things were getting better. And people were cooperating better, and they weren't going to war. They had treaties. They had international organizations.
Right.
The standard of living was going up. Healthcare was improving. Education was improving.
Right.
And so on. And I thought, this is great. And the last few years have not looked so good. Things can unravel fast, is what it looks like.
Have you adopted new technology, or do you still read the newspaper?
I don't get newspapers, but I read a lot of news. Like Washington Post and New York Times and the Guardian from England and so on, and the Canadian newspapers up here. I keep myself up to date, and I'm not dating computers.
I got you. Yeah. I have a partner I live with, and she hates all this new stuff. She doesn't really read the news that often, but if she did, she would use a newspaper, and she would write checks, and yeah. So I do all the financials because I'm computer savvy. I worked in IT for 40 years.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, well, not really. It was horrible. But that's another story. I mean, it was a nightmare. I mean, people are so savage and so cruel in the business world. It's just, they're all a bunch of big bullies. And that's another thing that we talk about on the show, because the cruelty that's out there is devastating to people like me. Neurodivergent people that have ADD, have autism, have something different about their brain. They get brutalized out there. It's terrible.
I'm sure that's true. I've been witness to it, and they're not training enough people to help people who need it, and they're investing in things that nobody needs. It's really hard to watch.
It's horrible. It's getting better. I mean, there is accommodations happening, but not fast enough for me. I want there to be equal opportunity. I always go back to I don't know if you ever see little Pee-wee baseball, where everybody runs to the ball and they knock each other over and everything. That's what I think we're at now, where everybody's just trying to get to the top in this hierarchical system. But what we need to do is put everybody on a base. In other words, what the talents that people have, we should say, okay, you do this, you do that, and organize ourselves into a network rather than a hierarchy where everybody just steps on each other. And it's time. It's time for that, because in our evolutionary phase, this survival of the fittest, I don't think really applies at this point. At this point, we need to change. We need to change big time. And with AI, we will change. But will it be for the better? I don't know. Hard to say. But
Let me tell you something about my little book, just for,
sure, go ahead. Yeah.
For your listeners. It's the best stuff I've ever written. I'm recognized as a leader in the field of death and dying, grief and loss. I'm published with Oxford University Press. They've been publishing for 450 years, so they know something about picking the books they want to publish. And I just want to tell you that, and I want you to make a note of this, and I want your listeners to know that they can have the book for a 30% discount.
Oh, right.
Because the publisher wants to offer it, and it's very simple. If you take the title and you go to the Oxford University Press website online and find the book, you can go to a page where you order it, and when you get to that page, there's a little opportunity to enter a code, and if you enter the code, the price of the book goes down from $35 to $25.
Okay.
And I'll give you the code.
Okay.
It's 5 letters and 2 numbers. The 5 letters are AUFLY.
AUFLY. Okay, I got it.
And the numbers are 30.
30 at the end. Okay. That's terrific.
If you want to buy 1,000 of them, they'll take that much off of 1,000 books.
That sounds good.
They don't care. They just want people to read the book, and I do too.
Yeah,
and
it sounds like a great book.
Bragging here. These are good books. And,
okay. Well, if you could get me the links of all the links that you mentioned, the links, I will put them in the description of the program so they can just click one click and get right to where they have to enter in the code. I know you didn't hear me say it, but I do my intro offline with a voiceover because I'm terrible at intros. And all those intros will have everything about you and your book and everything like that. But also I'll have all that information in the description of the episode. Yeah, you are the number one authority on grief, and major reason we had you on the show. It's just an honor to have you, and I appreciate your time. Usually at the end, I ask my guests if they have one more thing to say or anything that I might have left out that they want to talk about. Is there anything that you want to say?
Well, I mean, this is going to sound a little bit more technical than it should sound, but I think our world would be better if we all recognize the difference between the kinds of challenges that come up in our lives. There are problems, and our egos are very good at engaging with problems, solving them, finishing with them, being done with them, making lists of them and finishing them off one by one. There are problems that you can just be done with. You know, that mirror needs to be replaced because it's got a crack in it. You go out and buy a mirror and put it in the frame, and you've got it done. You've got trash accumulating at the curb or in a can on the porch, and you solve that problem by taking it where you can dump it and leave it, and then you're done. There are other kinds of challenge, and I call them mysteries. And what I mean by that are constants in our lives that we can't change, we can't solve, we can't make go away, we can't finish with. They challenge us, they show us new faces as we go through life, and we learn to engage with them effectively or wisely. And I would include as mysteries in our lives, life itself, suffering, freedom, finiteness, death. These things are with us from birth till death, and we don't control them or change them as we see them in a new light because a different kind of person has died, or someone died in an unusual condition or a twisted illness of some sort or another. We don't get to change those things. We change in the aftermath of those things, in response to those things, as opposed to by controlling them. And if we understood more things and challenges in life as mysteries that we learn to live with, not problems that we solve and control, we'd have a more balanced idea of what our limitations are and what the possibilities are in living a good life.
Amen.
And I wish all of your listeners success in learning to engage with mysteries effectively, because it's a key to living well.
That's terrific. You were absolutely amazing guest, and I appreciate your time. And I really don't promote books that much, but this one I think is a must-have. And with a discount, you can't go wrong. And it may help. It will help you with your grieving. So hopefully this show helps, and we'll go from there and be hopeful for the future. Thanks again for coming, and take care, Thomas.
You take care, and I wish your audience only the best.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.